Wait for that boat. Hello, I'm David Coulthard. I'm in Montreal and I'm here for the 2022 Formula 1 Grand Prix. Characteristics of the Montreal racetrack: think Monte Carlo meets Monza. It's a street circuit, but with some very long high-speed straights. First time here with the 2022 cars, much wider, heavier. That will put a lot more energy into the brakes from very high speed. So there'll be cooling issues that the teams have to pay attention to. And of course for the drivers, it's a circuit with very little margin for error. So keeping it out of the wall, clearly, is very important. In 1994, it was my second Grand Prix and it was my first ever point scoring finish. I qualified 5th and then ended up finishing in that exact same position. Back in those days, points were down to 6th place. A race was won by Michael Schumacher, with my then teammate Damon Hill finishing 2nd. I remember it not so much because it was my first point scoring finish, but it was a race in which I lost the feeling completely in my right foot due to some swelling in my lower back. Welcome to the realities of Grand Prix racing. It was a lot more physical than I'd ever experienced before in my career, and it was certainly an eye-opener to the level of fitness that was required going forward. I don't remember any big celebration of scoring my first points, because the reality is your focus is very much on trying to win. And the 94 car, although hadn't won any races up until that point, it was certainly a quick car. So there was never really, within the Williams team, celebrating a minor points finish. Of course, I was happy that I had my first points on the board, but it was just the first step on the ladder. Well, Damon Hill was my teammate during that 94 season. I'd been his test driver through 92, 93, and therefore we'd known each other off track. Being a teammate is something quite different, of course, because your teammate's success is your failure and vice versa. So at that early stage of the 94 season, it was all very amicable. But inevitably, as the year went on, the battles got closer and Damon wasn't quite so complimentary. Formula 1 has evolved considerably. So the paddock back in 94, we were all in small American motorhomes, Portaloos, and really the focus was just getting the cars on track. Today, the actual setting for the Grand Prix is the same, but we now have a very palatial paddock club, sizable team hospitality spaces, and garages that the actual mechanics can work normally. So like everything in Formula 1, it's evolved to fit the modern needs of the teams and mechanics. Going into this season, we come to Montreal where Lewis Hamilton's won here 7 times, equaling Michael Schumacher. I think that it's a very long shot that he'll be able to add to that tally given the performance of the Mercedes car right now. That said, this is a circuit that can be hard on reliability. We've seen already Ferrari showing some weakness, and of course it's quite an unforgiving racetrack. Also, you may see behind me the clouds. We all arrived here to a downpour and the weather patterns are looking a bit patchy over the course of the weekend. So if anyone can pull out a result, Lewis Hamilton can. It's been a very sobering experience for all the Ferrari fans and of course the Charles Leclerc fans, the reliability issues that they've had over the last few races. With back-to-back events in Baku, and now here we are 5 days later, cars on track for practice, then it's going to be difficult for Ferrari to have overcome the reliability issues. That said, what they can do is detune their performance slightly to take the engine away from the sort of peak of performance and therefore the peak of potential failure. Hopefully they'll be able to get on top of that fairly soon, because we want to see a World Championship battle going all the way down to the final Grand Prix. It's a different dynamic for Red Bull in this 2022 season. Previously it had been Max Verstappen out front dominating all his teammates. But in this year we've seen Checo Perez with a fantastic victory in Monte Carlo, some very good, reliable and consistent finishes. He's within 15 points of his teammate and therefore within a chance of battling for this championship. That puts a different pressure on Christian Horner and the team. The reality is, of course, the long term and the future of the team is very much Max Verstappen, and that means that Checo Perez has to walk a fine line between his own personal desires to be world champion and getting his elbows out too far that he ultimately alienates himself from the team. The reality is the decision will be made by what's borne out on the racetrack. If he continues to deliver good, strong qualifying positions and strong races, then the team will just have to get behind him. And for Max, if he's consistently getting the race results in front of him, the Checo will, as in previous years, just need to come in line. So join me and our brilliant Channel 4 team for all of the best bits of the Canadian Grand Prix on digital and on Channel 4.